Soundworks from PRI.
This is Sideshow, a podcast from Studio 360. I'm Sean Rameswaram. One of the most popular musicians in the world is someone you've probably never even heard of. His name's Pogo, and he's not setting iTunes records like Beyonce or selling out world tours like The Boss. Pogo is popular in just one very important place: YouTube.
This is for all you lovers out there.
History is going to change.
Pogo has over 300,000 subscribers and over 100 million views, but his best songs don't have huge hooks or really relatable lyrics or anything like that. What makes them pop is the source material. He takes audio from popular movies and TV shows and painstakingly turns them into original pieces of music. I first heard Pogo in 2012 when my brother sent me his Fresh Prince song. It's called Jam, and if you've ever watched the show, there's no way you wouldn't love it.
And I don't want nobody.
The Fresh Prince theme song is the foundation of this thing, but Pogo layers all these choice clips from the cast over it. Will says, "And I don't want nobody." Uncle Phil says, "I lost it." And for some reason, Jeffrey goes Arnold Schwarzenegger. While you're listening, you've got some eye candy. You can see all the clips he's using in the accompanying video collage. It's cut together with other clips from the show, cast members dancing and gyrating across the screen. You end up with a total remix of the audio and the video, and it's a lot of fun. But if you grew up with these characters, watching this video is more of an emotional experience. And for Pogo, it was emotional making the video too.
What I always loved about The Fresh Prince is that it wasn't just a barrel of laughs. It really had a soul to it, and it did have a lot of universal truths to it. And, geez, there are episodes that make you cry. So I wanted to capture that somehow, and I remember spending a hell of a lot of time going through all the episodes, trying to find the best bits and the bits that worked most, musically and harmonically.
That devotion to his craft has helped him make a career out of something that he started doing for fun back in 2007. Disney, Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, they've all called him up not to issue takedown notices, but to ask him to make music out of their movies and shows. Pogo's real name is Nick Burtke. He's a Kiwi who now lives in Manila, and we recently became buddies on Skype.
When I found Jeffrey, saying the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, even though I knew it didn't make a lick of sense, it just sounds so good the way he says it, and the same thing with so many of the voices in that show.
Yeah, and everything he said in the show was pretty musical. I mean, his voice was so
for some
beautiful.
reason, yeah.
It's a show filled with great voices. You don't realize it until
yeah.
When you watch someone try and make music out of it, it's like, wow, this was the most musical sitcom of the 90s, perhaps. What was the New Zealand equivalent to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Was there one?
No, well, not really. There were kids' shows in New Zealand, but they were actually mostly shows that just aired American shows. Like Australia and like the United Kingdom and like, a lot of places in the world, the American culture and American entertainment is very widespread.
What was the first video you made?
The first video I made was a remix of Alice in Wonderland called Alice.
And how did it occur to you to do this?
I don't know. My girlfriend at the time took the video out from the rental store and we watched it, and I was kind of onto this idea of making music using all of these small sounds that I hear. Ever since I started making stuff when I was 12, I've always been hearing these little sounds in music and films and then, rewinding it and rewinding it. So I thought, what if you made this kind of collage of all of these sounds and voices so that you're actually using a film and the essence of that film to make the song? And I suppose Alice in Wonderland seemed like a beautiful way to begin that.
You're talking about the audio component, but what's, I suppose, most compelling, especially to the YouTube audience, this video currently has 13 million views and counting, is that there's a visual element to this. So as I play this, can you maybe tell us what we're seeing?
Sure. Well, what we're seeing when we hear the track is an edit of all the sounds that I've used, but on screen. So every time you hear one of Alice's vocals, you see that part of her speaking in the film. And then I've also looped over, edits of the characters dancing and stuff like that. Video is actually not something I ever was really serious about because music has always been the main factor for me. But one night I just thought, what would I do if I made a video for this and how might it fare on YouTube? And I suppose that was the experiment that started it all for me.
And how surprised were you by the reaction? I mean, I'm sure you didn't expect, because no one ever does expect a video to hit big. But
you never wake up one morning and say, I'm going to get this many hits on YouTube. It just doesn't work that way. But it was a huge surprise. I couldn't believe that I'd connected emotionally with so many people. That was the first thing that took me aback. And it's an experience I'll never forget, that first burst.
And we should say this was in 2007.
Yes.
So YouTube is still a young platform, right?
It is. This was back when, I could barely watch a YouTube video because of my internet connection. I remember it took a couple of nights to upload it.
Yeah. You definitely turned this from a hobby or a craft into a career, right?
Yes.
I guess we should talk about Disney and how you got involved with them.
What happened was, not long after Alice, I get this email from somebody saying, I work for the digital agency of Disney. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, right. And she says, no, really, I've just shown your video to the guys at the top of Disney. And then, the next thing I know, they're talking about flights over to San Francisco to meet at the Pixar campus in Emeryville. And that was unreal. I got to actually fly over, and I got to meet John Lasseter, who had good things to say. And it was an amazing experience because, let me tell you, Pixar is a creative environment. For someone who draws or makes music or paints, that's a hell of a place to be. You feel connected in a way that I think you don't feel in a lot of places. Pixar just has that energy and that kind of creativity in the air.
So then you make Upular, which is what they gave you an early copy of the movie Up and said, hey, go play, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't even rhyme.
Yeah, it does.
Bring it back on the mic. Both out of those. Everybody up. Go.
Would you sign off?
Turn the mic up on the mic. Both out of those.
Let me in.
Now go Russ. Go weird. Bring it back on the mic. Both out of those. Everybody up. Go.
Would you sign off?
Turn the mic up.
It's one of the very few gigs I've been given in which I haven't really been told what to do or how to do it. And I think, arguably, it's probably one of the best ones I've made, that hasn't been strictly for myself. I remember walking out of the campus with the Blu-ray of Up before it was released, and I spent about 3 weeks sampling and producing, and I sent it over, and they said, okay, we'll run with that. Usually you go through 3 or 4 rounds of feedback, but these guys were just like, nope, we'll trust you on this one.
Did you like the movie? Were you glad that you liked it? Were you scared that you might not? Or were you so sure that at that point with Pixar's track record that you would love it?
I turned around and said, you can't expect me to remix this shit. No, I loved it, actually. I was very surprised because Pixar, I've always known to make very family kind of children's movies. But
right.
Up just came out of the box and oh man, I remember me and my partner at the time, we were in the movies just crying at the end because it was so sad and it really tugs at your heartstrings. And I thought, wow, Pixar's really gone for something here that deals, with some pretty serious matters.
But you still do stuff that's less serious or less emotional, like your Pulp Fiction video.
Lead Breakfast, yeah.
Yeah, let's listen to some of that.
Sure, thanks.
Hey, kids.
This is a tasty burger. Burger.
That was a huge project for me. I didn't just want to make a song out of sounds from the film. I actually wanted to make this kind of multi-window patchwork video of all the sounds being used so that you could see the pistol and you could see the drugs and the heroin and the stuff being used as instruments, not just hearing them. And I was working with the high definition files, which meant I had to rip these massively big video files, and it took my computer ages and ages to process everything. But the reception I thought was just brilliant, and I couldn't have asked for more.
And what's going on? There's like a marching band in one frame in the video. That's not from the movie, is it?
No, the marching band is not from the movie. The marching band is actually from a film called Oliver, and it's representing what you're hearing as well. It's actually a kind of a loop of a choir singing in reverse. I actually thought about compositing the video into one of the shots of a television in Pulp Fiction so that it seems to make a bit more sense. But at that point, I'd spent well over 3 or 4 weeks straight working on the vid, and I thought, I'll just let it fly, and people will have to get used to it.
So you realize at that point that you can break your own rules and nobody really is going to call you out.
Yeah, there were a few comments like, what the hell is that? But I don't think it made or break the reception, no.
Is breaking your rules how this is staying interesting for you, or do you still love just the basic premise?
Well, I think you always run the risk of becoming your own cliche, don't you? When you find your niche,
Right.
or you find something that you love to do so much, I think if you do it enough, eventually, I think you will repeat yourself. Having said that, how or indeed why would you break out of something that you do love doing so much and the way you do it? Sometimes I do make things that I look on objectively and think, that actually sounds a lot like something I made a couple of years ago. But then I think the bigger half of me says, well, how much does that really matter? I mean, it still gives me joy, and I still had a lot of fun making it, and it still satisfies my ears, and I'm sure people will like it because of that.
You've done live shows, right?
Yeah.
What is the Pogo live experience like?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if I'd call it an experience.
Oh, come.
It's I've had a lot of fun with it, and to my surprise, it has actually gone down pretty well.
I imagine it's part video, part laptop sort of DJing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm actually in the process of planning a tour of Europe, actually, because it is something I want to get back into. It's kind of an in and out phase for me. Sometimes I'll think, my God, what a terrible bucket of stress, and having to go on that show with this dinky laptop like it's, pretending it's this amazing presentation. And then shitting myself, and having my nerves put through the blender. And but then, on the other hand, it's like there really is no other experience like it, and it is immensely invigorating and inspiring as well.
Dance, dance. Dance, dance. Dance, dance. Dance.
My dream setup, which is what I'm still working up to, is to have a big stage and to have dancers in outfits that pertain to the things I'm remixing, right? Like Snow White or Alice in Wonderland or, I don't know, Breaking Bad or related to.
Right, yes.
And have these 2 big screens behind me. And onto those, you can see all the video stuff, the video side of what I'm doing on stage. So I'll have all my sounds on a big grid, and I'll essentially perform with them and make patterns with them. And then that will flow back into what you're familiar with, which is stuff like, the Alice video, Snow White, the Willy Wonka stuff that's on YouTube, so that it's this experience that gets you dancing to stuff that you're familiar with, but also hearing new stuff. And really what it's about for me at the end of the day is immersing people. I don't want people to just stand there and stare at a screen. You can do that at home.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me neither.
Hey, thanks for listening to Sideshow, and thanks to David Krasnow and Jenny Lawton for the edits. Hannah Alonji helped with this pup, and thanks again to my blood bro Nimesh for introducing me to Pogo. Watch all of Pogo's videos on YouTube and listen to tons of his music at soundcloud.com/PogoMix. PRI.org/Soundworks is the place to find more Sideshow podcasts, and Studio360.org is the place to find Sideshow blog posts. Also, Sideshow is on Twitter at Sideshow.
Sideshow is supported in part by PRI's New Voices Fund, bringing new perspectives and personalities to public media. Donors to the fund include Maureen and Michael Rutgers and the Sarah and Evan Williams Foundation. Soundworks
Soundworks
from PRI.